Alright, what is up guys, and welcome back to the channel. You're watching the daily series of Nwadei MMA. I know I haven't been around for a little while. However, I hope you guys just watched my latest video that I actually dropped today. The interview with Hurricane Ike Villanueva. He is a UFC veteran. He is now transitioning over to bare knuckle fighting. He's 2-0 in BYB Extreme. He's looking for the heavyweight belt in bare knuckle. So go and check out that podcast. We go into a deep dive of his story and how he came to be the way he is today. And also in episode 25 of the Will vs. the Way podcast, we also recap the last event between Johnny Walker and Magomed Ankalaev. We give our reaction to it, so go ahead and check that out. However, today, guys, we're here for the announcement of UFC 300. Now, I don't know if these are the last fights that are going to be announced for UFC 300. It's still ways away, and they could announce so many more fights. We already had Zhang Weili versus Yang Xiaonan on that card, and a lot of people were kind of disappointed that that one was announced, but it is a great fight. And there's more great fights. Now, also today, I'm going to be talking about UFC 299 because that card is also very stacked and how it matches up with UFC 300. Will UFC 300, with today's breaking news, match up to UFC 299? Is it going to hold up to the standards of what UFC 300 is supposed to be? Or is UFC 299 going to overtake UFC 300? We're going to talk about all of that and more today on Nwadei MMA. So guys, if you want to support the content, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up and leave your thoughts down below. And as always, you're more than welcome to subscribe. And if you do choose to do so, go ahead and hit that bell icon to be notified when more videos like this one pop up in the future. However guys, let's go ahead and get right into it. So today, Dana White just announced about like 5 minutes ago that on UFC 300, we're going to have Max Holloway versus Justin Geathje for the lightweight BMF title. Guys, that's going to be an absolute banger. He promoted his ass off for this fight, and it is absolutely ridiculous that this fight just got made. Also on UFC 300, he just announced Jim Miller versus Bobby Green. This is a top 15 fight for Jim Miller. This is exactly what we were talking about on episode 25 in our recap. This is what I wanted for Jim Miller. This is what I wanted to see. I'm going to go through my thoughts and reactions on this one. Guys, let me know your initial reaction to seeing these matchups now get made. And we're going to go ahead and move right into comparing these two cards. So the first thing we're going to look at is the announcement that Dana White just made.
All right, guys, I got two more fights for you for UFC 300. Jim Miller, 40 years old, is the all-time leader in UFC wins at 26. He's got the most UFC finishes in lightweight history at 16, and he's tied for most submissions in UFC lightweight history with Charles Oliveira at 10. And now he is attempting to break into the top 15 in one of the nastiest divisions in the sport. And he will be facing the guy that fights anyone, anytime, anywhere, Bobby Green. Bobby hasn't seen a scorecard in 2 years. His fights do not go the distance, and he's got 20 finishes. And his style is in your face, moving forward, pushing the action the entire time.
Good job, Dana. Good job. This is how you promote a fight. I mean, the level of fighters that is on this, okay, but the way he's promoting it, we're tuning in. Alright, so first thing I'm gonna do is let's go ahead and look at some of these comments. Yeah, bro, so I gotta say right away, I really don't like Max Holloway at lightweight. I remember when he went up to go and fight Dustin Poirier in their rematch, it just was not the best decision. It was clear that he did not have enough power to match Dustin Poirier. Now, Geathje's not a big lightweight. He probably could make the cut to featherweight, although he probably would be killing himself. But we all know that Justin Geathje has tremendous amount of power at lightweight, and we can all hope but assume that this is not gonna look the best for Max Holloway. Now, let me know your thoughts on how you think those ones go, but those are my early thoughts. While this is an amazing, fun, CTE-ridden fight, I don't think that Max Holloway is going to be able to have his usual output that he uses to break guys down. He's never been much of a grappler. That's where Geathje struggles, is on the ground, not even in the wrestling portion of grappling, but in the jiu-jitsu portion of grappling. I mean, this guy was able to strike with Rafael Fiziev He matched him power for power, speed for speed, technique for technique. I've never seen anyone put the pace on Justin Gaethje other than maybe like a Dustin Poirier. Eddie Alvarez also was able to put a little bit of a pace on him, but Justin Gaethje, he changed his style and he's able to match pace now with the likes of Dustin Poirier. So guys, I mean, as far as that one is concerned, I'm not too sure how that one plays out for Max Holloway. We all love Max. This is an insane fight, and I'm happy that it's happening. They're trying to stack up UFC 300. Does it pan out? I mean, let's go ahead and look at the rest of UFC 300. Why don't we? Because when trying to see if this fight is gonna, live up to the hype, right? We have Weili Zhang versus Yan Xiaonan. I'm guessing that's gonna be above Max Holloway and Justin Gaethje, or is it? I mean, it's a real title fight. How are they gonna do that one? Anyways, yeah, so Yan Xiaonan versus Weili Zhang, that's a badass fight. That's gonna probably be an all-out war. We have Justin Gaethje versus Max Holloway. That's another amazing fight. Jiří Procházka versus Alexander Rakic. That's another really good fight. However, Alexander Rakic is known for being able to kind of drag out a fight. I mean, he's very good everywhere, which I think he'll probably try to nullify Jiří in the clinch or something like that in order to negate some of that pressure. So that one might not be as exciting as some of us like, but Jiří, he knows how to make any fight exciting, so it could be, right? Those three fights alone are, screaming chaos at you. Just Jiří Procházka, that one side of that fight. And then we have the Jim Miller versus Bobby Green. Let's not forget about that. That's also gonna be a banger because both fighters go for the finish. Bobby Green more for the striking, Jim Miller more for the grappling. But we saw Jim Miller and his striking and how it pans out and how he likes to mix everything together. I mean, he's constantly going for a finish. Bobby Green's always fun to watch. Now, how is Bobby Green going to be after that last stoppage? I don't know. Probably a little bit easier to finish. Maybe make it for more of an exciting fight. So that's another banger of a fight, right? Moving on to Calvin Kattar versus Aljamain Sterling. Now, as far as merit goes, I'm not sure how Aljamain Sterling played this one out. I don't know why Dana would give Aljamain Sterling this. I feel like as the former bantamweight champion who had multiple title defenses, I mean, I think the most in history, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Aljamain should have gotten a fight with like Max Holloway or some #1 contender fight so that if he wins, he goes straight into the title fight. But featherweight is kind of stacked up, so I know it is a tough division to get immediate title shot at. But the fight with Calvin Kattar should pan out to be a very, very good one. We haven't seen anyone really take down Calvin Kattar and just go to work on him. I mean, if you look at his last few fights, Calvin Kattar, I mean, he's getting up there in age. Sure, he's about 35. But he fought Arnold Allen, which he got stopped. The Josh Emmett fight went all 5 rounds. I thought he arguably won that, to be honest. Calvin Kattar versus Isaac, he actually put on a pretty good grappling clinic and pressure forward clinic. And then, of course, he had his fight with Max Holloway. But before that, he was on a 5-fight run, only losing to like Zabit in his last 8 fights, right? And so we know he has decent wrestling, right? And I've never, just being honest, I've never seen him get out wrestled. Aljamain Sterling's moving up a weight class. He's a grappler, which weight usually plays a bigger factor in grappling. Yeah, I'm not sure how Aljo's style pans out, but I think he'll have a little bit more power behind his shots, and it should be an interesting one. Moving on though, Bo Nickal versus Cody Brundage. I think Bo is probably going to get that one. Cody Brundage is always an exciting fighter, so that's, I think, fight for fight, this one actually does. It does compare with UFC 299. Now, we're going to talk about UFC 299, so just hold on for a second. Guys, by the way, if you're enjoying this video, give it a thumbs up, please. It helps to support the content, so I've heard. But let's not forget, like, we're talking about Bo Nickal and Cody Brundage, which is most likely going to be on the prelims. Are we forgetting Charles Oliveira versus Arman Tsarukyan? I mean, it's a 3-round fight, but it should be 5 rounds. That's a fucking ridiculous fight. Charles Oliveira is probably the most exciting fighter ever. I'd probably say either him or Justin Gaethje is. But Arman Tsarukyan, he has been going for the finish in his last few fights. He's put on some pretty chaotic performances. He dominated Beneil Dariush. Charles Oliveira dominated Beneil Dariush. Now they're fighting to see #1 contender fight. It's bound to be chaos. Deiveson Figueiredo versus Cody Garbrandt, chaos. Guys, I mean, we thought that it wasn't gonna pan out. We thought UFC 300 was kind of lacking just because of how stacked UFC 299 is, but correct me if I'm wrong, these are all potential barn burner fights, and they're probably gonna add more. So just keep that in mind. Now we have one undisputed championship fight with Weili Zhang and Yang Xiaonan. We're probably gonna need another one. You know, I was maybe hoping that it would be Weili Zhang versus Alexa Grasso, because that would have been a fucking banger for UFC 300. Let me know how you guys would have liked that one. But we don't have that. Okay, that's fine. We have a whole bunch of other banger fights, and Yan Xiaonan is not one short of having a finish, right? So moving on to UFC 299. Let's go ahead and compare these two, right? UFC 299. Oh shit. All right. Headlined by Sugar Sean O'Malley and Marlon Vera. That I don't even have to talk about that. You know, Sean O'Malley might have the sweetest style in the UFC, no pun intended. He is one of my favorite fighters, has to be. I mean, he's super fast, super innate, killer instinct, knockout striker, beautiful to watch. I mean, he's the only person I've ever seen dribble a basketball while beating someone's ass. Marlon Vera is the only person to ever beat him. God damn it, that is a badass fight written all over it. Okay, Dustin Poirier versus Benoit Saint Denis, 5 rounds, which they both asked for. Benoit Saint Denis, I know y'all heard T Will talk about it on the podcast. If you have not seen me and Terrence's reaction on the Will vs. the Way podcast to Benoit Saint Denis versus Dustin Poirier, please go check that out right now. Just log out of this video and then come back to it. But that is a fucking badass fight. That is a fight that's going to be carnage. You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of a more mixed martial art version of Dan Hooker versus Dustin Poirier, because I don't think it's just going to be striking. BSD has way too good of grappling to only keep it on the feet. I think he's going to be smart about this one, and he's probably going to try and take Dustin down, but he always goes for the finish, so it's going to be a barn burner nonetheless. Then we have Kinlan Chukagian versus Macy Barber. That should be a good stand-up fight, right? Will it end in a finish? I don't know. Not many girls fights do. So if we're talking about just straight girl fights, I think that Weili Zhang Xiaonan beats that one out by a mile. Okay, Curtis Blaydes versus Alton. That's a really good fight. Don't know who wins that. That's gonna be another good MMA fight. I would probably say Curtis is gonna try and keep that one on the feet just to use his wrestling defensively, because his striking has gotten really fucking good. I mean, I know we haven't really seen it too much because of the whole situation where he just lost. Who did he lose to again? Sergey. Yeah. Well, we know how overwhelming Sergey can be. But if you go and look at that fight with Tom Aspinall before Tom Aspinall blew his knee out, he was striking very well against Tom. And to be honest, it was kind of leading to a win for him. But Tom blew his knee out. We're not going to talk too much about that. And he was able to strike with Chris Dawkins. And, you know, his striking has just been improving. His grappling is already good. Yalton, this is going to be a big, ginormous test for Yalton. So I'm very interested to see how that one plays out. Gamrot versus Dos Anjos, that should be a banger of a fight. Both have really good grappling. Gamrot more in the wrestling aspect, Dos Anjos more in the jiu-jitsu aspect, but he also has good wrestling too. Yeah, I can see that one going all 3 rounds, maybe finishing in the 3rd, but both guys know how to put on some pace and pressure, so I don't see anyone gassing. Pedro Munoz, Kyler Phillips, that's a really good fight. Good, exciting fight. Karine Silva versus Lauren Murphy. I believe Karine Silva just got a new opponent. I don't think she's fighting Lauren Murphy anymore. I think that, if I'm not mistaken, let me go ahead and check this one out. April 27th. So Karine got moved to April 27th, which is after UFC 300. Okay. So Karine is no longer on this card. Karine Silva is a fucking exciting fighter, so I'm bummed that one's no longer on this card. CJ Vergara, one of the best fights in Fury FC ever versus, I don't know who this is, but it should be a good fight. Okay, why were we talking about those ones? Alright, Robelis de Spain, 6'7" heavyweight with the longest reach ever in history. He's also coming from Fury FC, the Houston promotion. I'm big on Fury FC because I live in Houston and I fight for Fury FC, but Robelis de Spain, I've seen him live. He's a tricky motherfucker. He's a Taekwondo medalist, and he'll fake glove touch you. He's one of those Hamzats, you know. He'll fake glove touch you and head kick you. I've seen it live in action. I've seen him fight Miles Banks live in action, another giant in the heavyweight division, and he put him to sleep. This is a setup fight. I think if Josh Parisian can test out his grappling, then, you know, that's one thing I haven't seen from him. But 4 fights, all ending in probably like under 7 seconds average fight time. Yeah, he's a dangerous motherfucker. But Peter Yan versus Song Yadong, barn burner of a fight, 3 rounds. That's gonna be a boxing showcase, right? Gilbert Burns versus Jack Della Maddalena. That's gonna be a banger of a fight. I think Gilbert's definitely gonna shoot in this one. Yeah, he might try and box with him a little bit, but Gilbert still doesn't get his head off the center line too well, so I think Jack's gonna try and pick him apart with that jab. Obviously try and keep Gilbert off of him, but if Gilbert can get him down, who knows, right? Still gonna be a very interesting matchup. I just hope Gilbert doesn't pull one of those, like the fight he did against Wonderboy where he took him down and just held him and like didn't even try an attack. Don't know how that one's gonna pan out. But Kevin Holland versus Michael Venom Page, that is not even a sleeper. It's not a sleeper, it's just a fucking badass fight. So far, UFC 299 just has more fights on it seems like, right? So UFC 299, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Michel Pereira versus Mikhail Olashechek. Yeah, so it has 11 fights, right? UFC 300 has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 so far. Just added 2 more, 8. Yeah, so of course we might be a little bit more excited right now for UFC 299, but I think we should slow the roll because I think they're still building the UFC 300 card. I mean, is there even an unranked fight on UFC 300? Maybe. Okay, Bo Nickel. That's the only one that's an unranked fight. Everything else is ranked. Everything is just begging for a finish. You know, I wouldn't be too surprised if both of these cards have like a 95% finish rate. Fucking ridiculous. Both of these cards are ridiculous. Guys, give me your predictions. Stay tuned because I'm going to be breaking down a lot of fights on both of these cards. I gave you my insight. I gave you which cards I think were better. I mean, right now I would have to say 299 just because it has so many different fights, but that Max Holloway Justin Geathje one is itching for me to say UFC 300. The Saryuki and Charles Oliveira, I mean, god damn it. The only reason that this UFC 299 one is standing out to me a little bit more still right now is because of Kevin Holland, Michael Venom Page, the whole Peter Yan coming back, Rebellis de Spain. I'm very excited to see him. Dustin Poirier, Benoit Saint Denis, 5 rounds. Sean O'Malley, one of my favorite fighters in the UFC. Yeah. So right now they're still close. I still think UFC 300 can match up. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Stay tuned. Make sure you tune into the Will vs. The Way podcast because we're still getting guests on there. Let us know who you want to listen to and hear from, whose mindset you're very interested in, because that's what we do on the podcast. We'll try and get them on for you. However, guys, keep tuning in. We're only on the rise, only up from here. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. Stay willing.